Okay. Gold. What? Struck gold. You know. Hey!
Hi, I'm Jimmy Sierra. I want to introduce you to the White's PulseScan TDI SL. This is the latest model in our growing TDI pulse detector series. This lighter weight version is packaged with more affordable loop and battery options to bring pulse power within the reach of your budget.
We'll now go in the field with Digger Bob to see the TDI SL in action.
I'm going to introduce everybody to the new White's TDI SL. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it on, and I want you to listen to this. I'm going to turn the power, the gain up to 6. I'm going to turn the ground balance here to about 6 or so. I'm going to turn the threshold up. Listen to that. It just purrs. Isn't that so nice and smooth? I can turn the threshold down to just barely audible, and it still just hums. Turn it up a little bit, no difference. Okay? Watch this though. The best is yet to come. I'm going to turn the gain up. The gain is at maximum. Did you hear any change in the tone? No, you didn't. Okay, I have the conductivity at low. What do you think would happen if I turn this to all, where you hear all conductive targets, high and low? Now you're in all. No change in the tone. Turn it to high. No change in the tone. This is an incredible, smooth, steady threshold. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to ground balance it. The ground balance instructions that are in the manual are, I won't say they're wrong, but they're not the preferred method to ground balance the machine. I'm going to show you the easy way to ground balance it. So first of all, you set your threshold, set your pulse delay at 10. This is for nugget hunting. We're not talking coins and jewelry. This is strictly nugget hunting. Put your ground balance control at 6. You can put your gain at halfway if you want. Your conductivity in all. Your frequency right in the middle or wherever it happens to be. You notice we're not getting any EMI interference from anything, even though we're right next to a highway. Okay, I'm going to ground balance it now. And before I do that, I want to show you just a little something as to why I chose this particular spot. You see these rocks behind me? These rocks are pure serpentine. See this pick with the super magnet on the end of it? Watch what happens if I just run this pick through this dirt. Okay, that's how bad this ground is here. That is magnetized dirt. That is just nasty stuff. Okay, pure serpentine is one of the hardest minerals that you can get to ground balance a machine in. A VLF machine of any brand will not balance this stuff out. You cannot get the loop more than a foot or two off the ground in this stuff, no matter where you put the gain. Okay? Now, I have everything set. I'm going to ground balance it. Listen what happens when I ground balance it. Okay? As you go down to the ground, the sound increases. You simply come to your ground balance control and you turn it up just a little bit. You want to turn it from 6 to 7. Okay, your threshold is still getting a little louder, so I'm going to go up to 8. Oh, look at that. No change in the tone. It's ground balance. Had I gone up to 9 and done it, your tone goes down. Okay? What you're aiming for is no change between the air tone and the ground tone. So I'm going to turn it back to 7. Do it again just to check it. Okay, a little high. Turn it up to 7.5. Okay. Now it's ground balance. No change between the air tone and the ground tone. almost always this machine is going to balance between 7 and 8 in mineralized ground. On a rare occasion, you may find that you don't need to ground balance it at all. In that case, you simply turn your ground balance off. You will get more depth. All your targets will sound the same, but you will get, well, you'll get more depth. You'll also be susceptible to mineralization and hot rocks and various things like that. So, okay, so we've got a ground balance now, okay? Now you start hunting. You simply sweep the loop back and forth very slowly, and you listen. You listen for a high tone, okay? I'm going to switch this back to low conductive. I'm in all. I'm going to switch it to low conductive because we're listening for low conductive targets, which are going to be your smaller nuggets, generally half to a quarter ounce or less, okay? That's a good sounding target. Notice the sound. It's nice and smooth, kind of a bell-shaped tone, not your harsh rectangular tone that you would get from a piece of iron or some sort of trash, okay? You simply sweep back over it a couple of times, get your pick. Go over the dirt, not there. Still in the hole, okay? All right, it's not in the hole anymore. We moved it out of the hole. Notice how much louder and stronger the signal is now. Simply crisscross over it. You can bend down, you can use a handful of dirt, or you can use a scoop, or you can use a cup, or anything like that. Okay? That means I've got it in my hand. One thing about this machine, as opposed to a BLF machine, you get no response from your hand. Okay? So, I'm going to take about half of this, I'm going to pour it into my hand. That means I've got the target in my hand. I can toss that aside. Take some more of it, and you simply do this back and forth like this, okay? Until you get the target in your hand, you get it down to a small amount, and you look, and there's your target. Okay? I use this nugget off my necklace just for demonstration. But that's about a 3 pennyweight nugget. It was buried about 4 inches. Okay? Now, I want to show you something else. I want to show you just briefly how sensitive this machine is to various targets. Don't let me forget that. Again, we're in low. We've got the gain at max. Here's a nickel. That's about 12 inches in the air on a nickel. Okay? But just listen to that tone. Listen how that just purrs. Alright? Here we have 0.1 pennyweight nugget. This is 2.5 grains roughly. Okay? Oh, criminy, I had the gain set at half still. Turn the gain up all the way. Okay? Nice signal on a 2.5 grain nugget. Here's a 1 grain. Now, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I can hear that clearly. Okay? I have here a 1/2 grain nugget. That is beyond the capability of this machine. 1 grain is just about as much as you can get out of this machine. Okay? If you were using a smaller loop, you would get a much stronger signal. Okay? Alright. I just want to give you just a little bit of heads up on what this machine is capable of. Smaller loops will give you a stronger signal on smaller targets. Okay? But the biggest thing is that it is smooth, it is quiet, even in the hottest mineralized ground. Okay?
Here's Jimmy with some important information on the TDI loops and the TDI SL battery package.
Standard loop that comes on it, which is 12 inches in diameter, and the other about 7.5 inches in diameter. Now, both of those loops are what we call dual field. And this is a type of loop that is designed specifically for the TDI by White's engineer Dan Geyer. What it amounts to is that it has two separate coils in the loop, one on the outside and one on the inner side. The outside being 12 inches, the in one is about 7 inches, 6 inches in diameter. The out one is basically there to pick up deeper and larger targets more advantageously, but the smaller loop inside is there so that you don't miss the small stuff, and so it'll pick up tinier targets a little bit deeper than the outside loop will. So both loops have full energy, full gain applied to them independently. They aren't shared like in a double D coil where you're two loops, but that shared energy. This is two independent loops that get full power to each loop. So when we talk about White's loops, the standard loops are available through the factory and through your dealer. The TDI SL comes standard with a nickel metal hydride pack, which is rechargeable with the rechargeable station, and it lasts about 6 hours. Comes also with a backup pack that takes regular alkaline batteries. This pack will probably last about 2 hours, but it's an emergency pack in case your nickel metal hydride battery runs down.
Jimmy will now introduce 4 specialty loops made exclusively for the White's TDI series.
I'd like to introduce our 4 new search coils, loops as some people call them, for the TDI. I want to make a couple of things clear, and that is that my loops are made to augment the standard loop that comes on the TDI. After all, White's has 2 very good loops that come with the instrument. When we talk about White's loops, the standard loops are available through the factory and through your dealer. However, we've made 4 loops to augment those loops. Therefore, we can have loops that are better in certain circumstances, more convenient for use, have particular characteristics. Now, I'll start out with the first one. Oh, by the way, I'll just mention that all of our loops, as are the factory loops, are what are called mono design. They are not double D loops like the traditional double D that's used on, say, White's Goldmaster. Our detector, the TDI, is designed to work better on mono loops. Even though double D loops are made by other companies, mono loops are the ones that are preferred for the TDI. So we have 4 loops. The first of which is that came out is the Jimmy loop. Now the Jimmy loop, as you can see, is oval or elliptical. It's the same size and shape as the Goldmaster loop that you might be familiar with. It is a dual field search coil. It's about 10 inches long, 9 to 10 inches long, 6 inches wide. It's made so that you can get into tighter places. It's solid, so it doesn't hang up on brush like White's open loops. So if you're in areas where there is brush and overgrowth, it will not hang up on it because it's solid all the way around. And it's got excellent sensitivity, very much the same as White's 7.5-inch loop. It's a little bit hotter because it's a bit longer. But it's an excellent loop, picks up small nuggets, picks up large nuggets, and it sells for $249.95 just like White Standard Coil does. You might be familiar with the loops that we made under Jimmy Sierra products called the Bigfoot. Well, we decided to make it go deeper and use the same size, shape rather, rectangular shape. So we came out with this one very recently, but it's already become very, very popular. I took it out prospecting. Again, this can be used as the others can on beaches or relic hunting, depending on when you're looking for larger targets or smaller targets. This one is a dual field loop, just like the Jimmy loop, dual field. It's 18 inches long and it's about 5.5 inches wide. So 5.5 inches by 18 inches, it covers 18 inches of ground. It's got 2 coils in it, the outside and the inside, and they're spaced so that you get smaller targets in the middle, larger targets on the outside. This sells for $299.95 and you get excellent coverage with it. Again, this one primarily would be to cover large, wide open places. It's a solid loop. It won't get caught in brush, but a large, wide open space would be a great application. Beaches, absolutely. I took mine prospecting, and I've worked at the beaches with it as well, and it covers the ground and gets absolutely excellent depth. So this one we call T-foot. T-foot. Well, the digger, it's 8 by 14. It looks just like the Jimmy loop, but we call it the digger loop, and it is not dual field. We made this loop so that you could get deeper targets because of being all the energy going toward the outside. Then we can increase the depth by the size. So we can get more depth with it, still get small targets with it, and this loop we call digger, after Digger Bob, who, if you watched our TV video, or rather our video on the TDI, you'll see him swallowing quite by accident my first nugget that I found. Digger loop sells for $279.95, but in contrast with the Jimmy, this is a single field loop, not a dual field, a single field loop. Again, mono loop, but single field. A little heavier, and you're familiar with the shape. It's the same shape as White's Sierra loops that were made for the Goldmaster. The last of the 4 loops, which I'm looking right through at you, is a wide open loop, as you can see, very light. All of the loops are light, but this particular one, for the size, only weighs 15 ounces. It's even lighter than the T-foot by a couple of ounces. It's 14 by 18. And this, again, is a single field. So we've got 2 single fields and 2 dual fields. This is single field. All the power in this one big field. It's really designed for larger targets. So we'd look at relic hunting for larger targets. Although it'll find single coins, it's really designed to get more depth on bigger targets. So we've got prospecting for the big ones, certainly relic hunting for large targets, cannonballs or buckles and everything else, but somewhere where you want to get something deeper, or hoard hunting, cache hunting with the TDI. So at this point, this is the largest loop we make. By the way, all of them are made with the long cable, so you can use it chest-mounted, hip-mounted, or standard on your TDI. And this one sells for, as I said, $349.95, single field coil, low profile, wide open, light as a feather, and excellent depth.